Hey everybody, Tim here, coming at you live for tonight's episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. We got Season 5, Episode 26, and Season 6, Episode 1, Time's Arrow. So the last time I did a two-parter, my Wi-Fi was acting really kind of funny, so hopefully this works and I don't have to just stop it and restart it. So Time's Arrow is a great episode. It's a great two-parter. It's a great season finale, season premiere. I wasn't a big fan of the last one, though, the Klingon two-parter, but I would say this is probably second after Best of Both Worlds. But I think it's a really enjoyable episode. So for those who haven't seen it or whatever, I basically kind of wrote all my notes in order as they happen throughout the episode. So if you guys just stick with me. So this episode's kind of famous, especially if you watch Futurama, because this is the one where they find Data's head, and it's supposed to be like 500 years old or something. And they don't really know what to make of it, because Picard starts asking, like, could this be lore? Could this be somebody else? And Data's like, no, it's mine. And so if you guys are big Futurama fans, there's a great episode of Futurama where Bender's head keeps going back, and then they have to wait and dig it back up, and he's all pissed, like, what took you so long? And that's where this episode's where that came from. So overall, it's a great episode. So like I said, so Data's head is lost, or they find it, and they're scared of whatever they do. It kind of becomes almost like Terminator. Like if we just lock Data in a room, he can never lose his head, right? And they have to, like, what is fate? What is destiny? How can we avoid this happening? If we try to avoid it, is that what actually makes that happen? There's a lot of really good time travel questions in this. Thank you, Joshua. Roswell That Ends Well is the Futurama episode. I'm terrible with Futurama names. But, so there's a lot of, and I mean, there's all sorts of a gamut of time travel movies anywhere out there. So everybody kind of has their own rules and quirks and stuff like that. So they end up going down to the planet, and Data ends up being thrown back in time into Earth. And he ends up in the 1893. And there's some really interesting stuff going on. We see Samuel Clemens, known as Mark Twain. We see a very young Jack London, which I loved because, so I grew up in San Francisco, and like I remember reading like Call of the Wild and stuff by Jack London as a kid in elementary school and stuff like that. But like living in San Francisco, there's a little area, it's called Jack London Square, and that's where like the movie theater was and TGI Fridays, and like that was my favorite place to go as a kid. So I remember being little, and Jack London's character, he doesn't actually say his name's Jack London until part 2, but when he says it, you remember my name's Jack London, like as a little kid, I was like, oh my god, I know who that is. You are famous. So I was a dork as a kid. I'm a dork now, whatever. And then, so what I thought was kind of funny was the Mark Twain character. Like, the first time I saw him, again, as a little kid, I remember thinking, like, is that Colonel Sanders? Like, who is that? Because, I don't know, he's just, I don't know that much about Mark Twain specifically. Like, I've read some of his books, but I don't know how accurate their representation of him was. I probably should have looked that up before I started this. But I thought it was kind of funny. Like, I didn't take him seriously. So from here, like I said, Data's thrown back in time, and now we have the rest of the crew that are trying to figure out how to save him. And there's a really interesting line right before we get to the end of the episode where Picard is like, okay, Worf, you go back to the Enterprise because I need somebody to guard the Enterprise. And Worf is all kind of grumbly, like, okay, fine, I'll go to the Enterprise. And he says, beam me up, which is pretty awesome because they don't really say that a whole lot. But then, like, I started thinking about it, like, they sent Worf back so they wouldn't have to explain what the fuck a Klingon was to San Francisco people in 1893. Like, that's the whole reason. They had no other reason to send him back other than to hide the makeup. Because if you think, like, anytime Spock went back in time, he just, like, tore a strip off his clothes and, like, wore a headband to hide his ears and stuff like that. Like, they didn't have anything to explain that type of rigid, four-headed Klingon. So I was like, that's just kind of lazy writing, in my opinion. But, so, that's basically where part 1 ends, is now the main bridge crew is now back in time. And so now they're trying to figure out who these aliens are and why they're kidnapping people, and they're blaming it on cholera. There's all sorts of stuff. But what really makes this episode good, I'm sorry, I'm just dragging on, but this is why I do two-parters live, is because there's a lot of information. what really makes this episode so good is Guinan. I've said it over and over again. You guys are going to have to listen to me again. Whoopi Goldberg is amazing. She's the best actress in this show, in my opinion. She's phenomenal. For the most part, Whoopi always did like a one-day filming for the week. Like whenever they did their set, what was it, like 5 days, 6 days, to film an episode, Whoopi was like, okay, you got me for one day, and she'd do her scenes. For these two episodes, for this two-parter, like they had her for a much longer amount of time, and she agreed to it because it kind of fit in her schedule. And this is the first time we catch a pretty good glimpse of Guinan. She's still really mysterious, but like my favorite part is the Q episode where her and Q are clearly going at it. Because that's the episode I did with my mod bro Joshua, and we talk about how much we want like an audiobook or a movie, something of Guinan, because she's so amazing, and I want to know about that interaction between her and Q. Like, this is the first time where you start getting a little bit of a glimpse. And it's interesting because some of those past glimpses have now come to be part of this episode. Where, like, when we first meet her in I think it's the first episode of season 2, Wesley's like, they say you're really old. And when you as a viewer watching that, you're like, damn, this 15-year-old just like called her old. But now you realize that literally she is hundreds of years old now. So that it starts making a little bit more sense. And then some of the things that Guinan said in the past start coming back. Where there's one episode where she's talking to Geordi, and Geordi's like, well, what do you look for in a man? And she's like, oh, I look for bald men because I'm attracted to them because one of them was kind to me when I was hurt. So she mentioned that, and then there's another episode, the first episode with Ro, where she's like, there's one man that you can always go to, and he will always save you, and he helped me. And Ro's like, well, who is it? And then there's a cut scene, and it goes to Picard. Now, I mean, it's really kind of cheesy editing, because you're like, oh, that's who she's talking about. This is that episode where you see Picard, as a bald man, is kind to her, and he helps her out. Because it's some great scenes where it's Guinan injured and Picard, and they're stuck in the cave. And this is also that's the scene where Data loses his head. So it's really interesting. I don't know how much they had planned that out. Like when we first saw Guinan in that first episode of season 2, like did they know that her species was old or long lived? Did they know Picard was going to be that bald man? Like I would love to sit down with the writers of Star Trek someday and just drill and pick their brains and stuff. But I want to know how much of this is planned out and how much of them is that one nerd that's like, oh shit, do you remember that line that we said? Like that will fit right here. Because I feel like that would be me, where it's just an accident, but it fits. Because that's what they say because I took a lot of writing classes in college, and that's what they say is anytime somebody's like, I thought your writing meant this, you're always supposed to be like, you're right. I'm glad you caught it. But I don't know, it's cheesy. So I love how much of Guinan we got from this. And I love how she brings up her father. Because where she's like, did my father send you? Because now you got to wonder, like, is this... Well, we see later on when the Borg does kind of... No, actually we don't. Now I got to think about it. I should have wrote that down. Because we see her in Generations, but we don't know... like what caused her to be on that shuttle in Generations. So we don't really know when the Borg went after her home. Like, I'm assuming it's after this episode, because she brings up her family. Sorry, you guys are blowing me up, and I'm like all up into my notes. Joshua, Michael, yes, Guinan is incredible. Sebastian, I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. But hi, he says hi from Colombia, I say hi from Washington in the US. And okay, so from here we kind of go into some more usual stuff. The crew come back to our present time with Data's headless body, and then they just connect the 500-year-old head to his body now, and it works. Again, kind of like Bender. But on the way, they bring Mark Twain back with us, so that he is now in our time. So when it's kind of interesting, I caught it, when he's walking out of the transporter room and he's talking to Deanna, and he's like, have you guys ever run into Halley's Comet? For those that don't know, Halley's Comet is a comet that kind of goes by the Earth every 75 years. It went by on the day that Mark Twain was born. And then throughout Mark Twain's life, he's like, that comet's going to come back when I die. And sure enough, Halley's Comet went by again on the day that Mark Twain died. So I like how he was kind of like, have you guys run into it? Because it's little stupid trivia that I find interesting because I'm weird. So from there, I think my favorite line of this is when Guinan and Picard are in that cave and they're talking to each other. And because at this point, Guinan does not know who Picard is, but Picard knows Guinan. And they're having a conversation. It's very, like, to look at it in hindsight, we kind of see this. If you guys watch Doctor Who, it's kind of like Doctor Who and River Song, where Guinan's like, you know a lot about me. And Picard says, well, one day the tables will be turned. And throughout this, we keep going back to the Guinan of now. And Riker's like, you need to tell us what to do. And Guinan's like, I can't. Like, it's not my place. And then we finally get to the present scene where Picard's talking about, like, you've known this whole time. Like, the first time I met you, you knew who I was, but you couldn't tell me. And she's like, well, I just had to wait for you to basically loop around now. And it just leads to some really interesting dialogue and some really interesting character development. So I've been paranoid that my internet's going to crap out at any second, so I blew through my notes. Thank you guys for commenting. I'm going to kind of go through this one more time. If you guys have any last-minute comments, questions, what do you guys think about these videos? I really appreciate it. We are now going into season 6, so we're almost done with the Next Generation. So I want to say thank you guys to all of you. Thank you guys for reaching out to me, for sending messages. Thank you guys especially that send me messages before sending me friend requests, because I'm not going to add you if I don't know who you are unless you send me a message. That's who I am. Thank you guys for everything. Oh, I'll just keep going back through my notes while you guys pop up any last comments. Again, a little joke that they had thrown in there that I really liked was the poker scene where Data's trying to figure out how to get money. And they're like, well, I mean, we have all these cards. And, like, I swear, you can see Data's ears perk where he's like, poker? Because, like, we've seen poker throughout the series, and poker is just kind of the staple for the Next Generation. So I liked how they included that within the episode. That's all I got. Yeah. If you guys got anything for me... Nope, nothing. Okay. Again, thank you guys for the YouTube subscriptions. I almost forgot about that one. You guys that are watching on YouTube, I super appreciate all of you. I finally blew through my goal, and you guys have been amazing. I love all of the comments, and I try to I try to reply or at least like all of the YouTube comments, so you guys have been super awesome, especially for those that have reached out for me from there. I've started trying or contemplating getting a Twitter for this account going as well. That way I can just kind of tag some of these Star Trek people and kind of see if I can get any of them to bite on to get a response or something. Miguel, I love that somebody finally in this group addresses a series I'm fond of. Thank you, Miguel, for liking Star Trek. Like this, as me as a mod of this group, this is just kind of my idea of interacting with you guys, because I figured a majority of you like Star Trek. So I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad that you like these videos. I've already started doing some videos for other series, but I want to get enough of them that I can just start posting them. But if you guys have ideas, like what other shows do you guys want to see done? I mean, there's a huge gambit of TV shows. It doesn't even have to be sci-fi. I even thought about doing like the Adam West Batman series, because every episode's a two-parter. So I thought that was awesome. So if you guys have ideas for shows that you want to see done, I don't know if I'm going to start doing them at the same time as I do Star Trek, or if it's one show, stop, another show, stop. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys want to see? I don't want you guys to get burned out of Star Trek. I mean, I probably will never get burned out. As soon as I finish the series, I just start over again. But my husband would probably leave me because he doesn't like it. He's over there shaking his head. But so go ahead. Let me know what other shows you guys want to see. I'm pretty sure this is the longest my internet's gone. So... Sorry, I'm reading you guys as you... Can I click on these? I can! This is awesome. I love how... See, when you guys... So you're on my phone, and then the comments are actually blocking me, so I can't even see my own face. So this is kind of interesting. Sometimes, like tonight, you catch something I never realized. Sometimes I think things just work out the way... Yeah, I agree with Michael that some things are accidents, some things are on purpose, kind of like in the episode Phase Out, which is pretty late in season 5. It's almost one of the last episodes of season 5. They bring up that, oh, maybe the Federation should do a phasing cloaking technology. And then, like, episode 10 of season 6 is where that topic comes up. So I don't know if that's an accident or, like, if they wrote that line as a joke and then 4 months or something went by and they were like, hey, remember that joke? Let's do that again. Michael says, makes me wonder if that chat she has with Riker in the ready room during Best of Both Worlds was also her alluding to their history. Can you elaborate? I don't remember exactly what was said. See, I love how you guys comment. I purposely put on episodes of Voyager to lull me to sleep. I'll never get burned out of Star Trek. Miguel, neither will I. Like, I love it. Eventually, I will get to Voyager. One of my good friends, Janine, doesn't like The Next Generation that much, which, I mean, she's entitled to her wrong opinion. That's okay. So she's super excited for me to get to Deep Space Nine and Voyager. And she'll probably actually she's offered to do a guest video with me when we get to Deep Space Nine. But yeah, no, Voyager's amazing. I mostly grew up with Voyager, so I'm glad that you brought that one up. Particularly the way... And then, Michael, if you can remind me of the Best of Both Worlds conversation. You guys are amazing. Like, I love all these little comments you guys come up with. I try to ignore the thirst ones just because I'm not doing it for that. I'm actually doing it because I like Star Trek. She's basically saying how they have a special connection, which I assumed was that they were former lovers or something of that nature. But maybe it ties into how... You could. I might have to go back and rewatch that conversation. Now you got me thinking about, like, what if her and Q were lovers, and that's why they attacked each other, is because they were exes? Oh, Michael, you just opened up a whole can of, like, slash fiction. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut it now, because I got to start watching the next episode. Thank you guys again for everything. I will never stop saying thank you guys, because without you guys, I couldn't be doing this. I know some of you hate these videos, and trust me, some of you have messaged me telling me how much you hate them, but that's okay. But for all of those that like them, thank you guys for commenting. Thank you guys for reaching out. Thank you guys for helping reinforce these videos. If I can bring joy to just any of you, then I'm doing my job. So that's awesome. That being said, if you guys want to keep commenting, even though I'm going to stop this, I will go ahead and keep replying to your comments, just so you guys know I'm not going to be ignoring you. James says Captain Janeway is by far the best captain. I'm probably going to have to agree. I really like Captain Janeway. Kate, I just lost her last name. It starts with an M. She's a great actress. I mean, the whole, like, there's coffee in that nebula. She's fantastic. And then when I started watching Orange is the New Black and she came into it, I was like, there's no fucking way. No! And I was like, yeah, that's fucking Captain Janeway as the chef. It was great. The only conversation from Best of Both Worlds I can remember is where she tells him that they're more than friends. It could allude to her past. Brian says hi from Colombia. I don't know. I guess I got a lot of fans in Colombia. Or what time is it? It's like 11 o'clock at night here, so maybe you guys are just early. You know, I suck at names. I don't even know how you pronounce that. Mulgrew? Is that how you say that? Kate Mulgrew? I don't know. I should take, like, some sort of class about how to pronounce names. I just suck at pronunciation. People laughing at me. Rude. But yeah, when Red came in on Orange is the New Black, I was like, it's so great. And what's funny is, so my husband watches Orange is the New Black with me, and we were watching it, and I was like, do you know who that is? And now he doesn't watch Star Trek at all, but I have a poster of all of the captains, or at the time it was all of the captains, and he's like, no, should I know who that is? Because he doesn't really care about, like, who actors or actresses are. And I was like, look at my Star Trek poster. And he looking at it, and I was like, that's the woman, that's her. And he's like, fucking really? But so I thought that was kind of cool. I like it, because she's a great actress. She's in, like, what, Mama Threw Me from the Train, or Throw Mama from a Train, and Gargoyles. She's one of the Star Trek actors that's in Gargoyles. Okay, so you guys keep popping up with the comments. I'll reply to you. I'm going to cut this because this is going on. Of course, my Wi-Fi is going to last great now. Thank you guys for everything again, and I will see you guys tomorrow for episode 2, Realm of Fear.